In the midst of social distancing and business lockdowns, a freelance writer and a graphic artist bought a bus, converted it into a tiny home on wheels, and moved out of our 4-bedroom house. 1 year later, we downsized to a Chevy Express. Now we travel between Texas and Pennsylvania from April through November while exploring small towns with rich histories. In the winter, we hunker down in Texas in our schoolie and dream of our next big trip.
We're Alan and Teresa.
And we're rolling with our gnomies.
Okay.
Well, we're in West Texas this week. And, in McLennan County, where West Texas is, was first settled in the 1840s by farmers and ranchers. The federal government held a land sale to build schools in Texas. So area farmers grew cotton, wheat, and maize while also raising cattle. The community came to be called Bold Springs because of a local fresh water spring that ran through the area.
We're looking at that at the safe.
Yeah, this here is a safe that was in the first bank of West.
I guess we should tell them while we're telling them the history. As we're going along, we're walking through a free museum. It's a museum of West Texas, and it's a history museum of the town.
Yeah, it just covers the history of this little town, West, and it goes all the way back to the beginning. They show different
when it was Bold Springs.
Different relics from the past, and the early businesses and different keepsakes of some of the families. And it really is an interesting museum. I was really surprised by how large it is. And it's really, it looks small from the outside, but you get inside and it's really big.
This is a mock-up of the first grocery store in West.
Yeah.
And this building that you're looking at now is the original settlement for Bold Springs.
In 1860, the population was about 300 people. And in 1881, they built a railroad from Hillsboro to Waco, Texas, or it ran between Hillsboro and Waco, Texas, and it went through West. And it was the Katy Railroad. It ran through this local area. A man named Thomas West owned some land, and he sold it to the railroad company. But he moved here in 1859, so he had acquired all this land. He was a farmer, but he was also the first postmaster of Bold Springs. And the railroad company built a train depot on the land that Mr. West sold to them, and then in turn turned around and sold it to people who wanted to start businesses in town. So the depot included a post office, and it came to be called West Post Office. And then Mr. West, he ran the post office and operated a general store. And later, after being successful in business...
Oh, there's that covered wagon.
Yeah, he owned a hotel, a furniture store, and a bank. And so the bank you saw at the beginning was his bank. Yeah, this covered wagon was used by early settlers when they came out from the east and settled in Texas.
They truly have. It is an authentic wagon. And they have some of the furnishings that would have been in the wagon. This is one of the wedding dresses that was worn by townsfolk. Cotton, of course, was king in Texas at one time. And some of the lady that was walking with us, she was a child of cotton pickers. And those outfits were worn by her family members.
Yeah, so the museum just details the history of West and how it came to be settled, and then how it grew into this town. It was a real prosperous town. It's not as big as it used to be, not as populated as it used to be, but you can see the different...
There's the old switchboard.
Yeah, the old switchboard. There's a pipe organ in here, you'll see.
Yeah, at one time, this little bitty town had 18 different grocery stores.
Yeah. You wouldn't think that it would have been able to support that many grocery stores, and who knows how many churches it had.
Right,
But,
right.
It was interesting. So, anyways, the railroad helped the town to grow, and Bold Springs became really prosperous. So that attracted more businesses and more residents, and among the residents were Czech and German immigrants who came over to get a fresh start in a new world. They opened businesses and shared their European culture here in the area. And by the 1890s, the Czech businesses were flourishing, and the town of West was doing well.
They have a whole room dedicated to this photographer in town who did family pictures. His mother would sit and paint the photographs that he took that were black and white. She color tint them, and that's piano organ thing. And then, as we're walking around town, we found I took pictures of the original buildings that I saw inside of the museum. There you see the saloon. If you look earlier in the video, the miniatures there.
Yeah. Yeah, theater building.
The theater building.
West was officially organized on June 11th in 1892, and that's when it became known as West. It was a huge center of commerce in this area. It had cotton gins, grocery stores, churches, schools, doctors' offices.
There's the Katy Depot.
It was a real thriving community. Yep, and here's the old West Depot.
It's the Katy Depot, and it actually has a museum of some sort in it, as well as a visitor center, although looking through the windows, I would say that's been closed for some time. But I did get pictures through the windows because some of the original architecture is still there and very, very beautiful.
Yeah, when the 20th century came around, that brought electricity, running water, natural gas, and West grew some more. Really became a popular destination for people looking for a life. And there's the depot sign. Here in a second you'll see, we're walking up to the train depot. You'll see a marker for the staged train crash in the late 19th century. This was a thing. This is what they did. Railroad companies wanted publicity, so they would stage these train collisions, and people would come from all around to watch these trains collide. And this one here in West was staged, and thousands of people came from all over, from Oklahoma.
It was actually
and all over the place.
Outside of West. It wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't in town. It was actually outside of the West, outside of town. Well, but they had thousands of people there to watch these two trains hit head on, and this was a thing. It was a popular deal that they did.
And they did it many, many times. And the worst that happened was two trains were wrecked. It truly, they had done it multiple times. Nobody got hurt.
But in this particular instance, it led to some injuries. Some train debris flew out into the crowd, and several people were injured. Some of them died, and that became a big deal, hit the national news. And
I think that was the end of the staged.
Yeah, not too long
collisions.
After that, they quit doing staged train collisions. But there's the marker.
Go back and trim that video right there.
Okay. So, today, descendants of the original settlers continued to farm the land in the area and run businesses. West is still a pretty decent town to visit. It's not as big as it used to be, but it's still a pretty neat town. Some of the older folks still speak Czech, and you can still see the strong Czech influence in town.
It really is. It's a neat little town. It's right on Highway 35 as you're heading south. And you can stop in there. You can get you a sandwich because they have some great delicatessen sandwiches. I forget what the name of the place that lady was telling us about. But they also have kolaches. And if you've never had a kolache, you're missing out because those things are awesome. But they are also off limits because they are not gluten-free.
Yeah, so we had to fantasy indulge on this one.
Yeah, I don't know that Alan's ever had a kolache, so I'm not sure he realizes.
I never have.
Oh, see, you don't even realize what you're missing.
I don't.
Okay? But you're missing out.
I'm kolache free.
I promise you.
I'm kolache free and kolache deprived.
And that railroad car was open, and Mr. Curious did not go inside of it.
I was tempted, but I got short legs and the steps were tall.
And your garage is coming up here in just a hot second.
Yeah, this is really cool. I like that painting.
I don't know if they actually open those doors for cars or not, though. And there's the original grocery store.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're in the area, stop by West. It's worth a stop.
All right. If I don't do this right, then I'm going to be on the bad side of my wife. So y'all bear with me and pray for me. But while you're doing that, don't forget, share us with your friends. Like us if you like us. Like us if you don't. Subscribe to the channel. It helps us out. God bless.